Welcome to the 2024 New Jersey International Film Festival interview series. Normally we have filmmakers here, but today we have someone really special. She's not only a filmmaker, she's an artist, and she's also a wonderful musician. Today we have Marissa Nadler here, and I'm going to be peppering her with questions for the next half hour or so. And we have the added benefit of having Marissa coming to do a concert as part of our film festival on June 15th, and it'll take place at 7 p.m. in Voorhees Hall, room 105 on the Rutgers University campus in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And I'll give you more information at the very end of the interview on how you can buy tickets and stuff. Welcome, Marissa. Welcome.
Hi, it's great to finally meet you in person.
Oh my gosh, it's a dream come true to have you coming to Rutgers to do a show. We had talked about it for the last year or so, and now with you touring again, it's really wonderful that you're going to pit stop over here in central New Jersey.
And I've never played in central New Jersey before.
Wow. Well, I
Hard,
mean,
I know.
to be honest with you, there used to be a budding music scene in New Brunswick, and it's for whatever reason, a variety of reasons, it has kind of winded down. There used to be one in Hoboken too at Maxwell's, and you know,
Remember that venue actually. Maybe I did play there once.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because it was an active place. The Bongos and Yo La Tengo and all these other bands, I guess, got their starts there as well as the Replacements. I want to say the Replacements.
Oh, cool.
Well, I need to tell our audience about you, Marissa. You've been active on the music scene for over 20 years, and I wrote down that I stumbled onto a copy of your terrific album, July, about 10 years ago, which it's celebrating its 10th anniversary. And I've been a huge fan ever since. And after I bought that one, I hunted down all the others that I could find on Discogs and on eBay, and I fell in love with those too, and began waiting for each subsequent album, with great anticipation. And I also subscribed to the Wire magazine, and I saw you on the cover of an issue in 2016. I thought, wow, I got to find out more about you. I knew a lot about you up to a certain point, but I didn't realize that you actually got your beginnings as an artist. I mean, you went to the Rhode Island School of Design and you got your master's in teaching art as well as your BFA.
Yeah.
So I guess my first question to you is, do you consider yourself an artist first and a musician? Or are they both? I mean, you're such a Renaissance woman, so I think, I wonder what you think.
I mean, it's an interesting question. I think about this a lot as I struggle with the order of which to do things in my own life, but I consider them the same thing. Like it's a umbrella where the music and art and any video work or anything that I do falls under the same uh, bubble where often there's an overlap
Mm.
between, like I like to have the visuals inform the music, but I mean, I think you can do there. Somebody like Joni Mitchell, for instance. I remember when I was much younger reading an interview with her,
Mm.
and she mentioned that um, she considered herself both. So
Well, my question to you also is then you started playing music first or
yeah.
doing painting?
So I was started playing guitar when I was around 12 or 13 because my older brother was played guitar and it just looked like fun,
Mm.
and I didn't do well in lessons. Just I've never done well with lessons in general, and
Mm.
kind of self-taught myself how to play guitar and sing through a variety of songbooks, like a Bob Dylan songbook that I still have, where I really learned how to sing and play at the same time.
Mm.
And all throughout high school, I was in some grungy punk and bands and stuff because the era was when grunge was really popular, and I basically still considered myself, I was untrained as a musician, so it wasn't like I was going to go to Berkeley or with not even knowing how to read music at the time.
Mm,
So, but by the time I was in art school, I was kind of juggling both and writing my first real songs,
mm.
recording, and started to take it more seriously. And I think a lot of it is when you're trained in something, it can sometimes take the excitement out, or at least with me, I needed some kind of outlet that where it was a more free form of expression because
Right.
RISD was, you know, it's just one of those schools where everybody is really great. And
Mm.
maybe it distinguished me that I had something else to do.
But Marissa, you went to RISD to do art, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so you wanted to be a painter and
yeah, I
and
did.
but how did that begin? What was the impetus for doing art? I mean, what was the catalyst? Because everybody always writes so how Marissa started, and I read about your brother, but I wondered, what was the spark that made you an artist, a painter?
I, I think it's really ever since I can remember.
Mm.
My mother is a painter, and her father was an architect, and her two brothers are architects. And then it really runs in the family. It's
Gotcha.
on my dad's side. His dad was a map maker in the war, and
Mm.
I, I always had a pen in my hand as far as I can remember. I was always doodling in school, and just it was my first love, actually.
Mm.
And it's still a big part of my life. I don't go a day without drawing or painting still. And back in when I was 18, I didn't even apply to any other schools besides art schools. It was like I felt it was my um, calling, I guess.
Mm.
But in retrospect, back then computers weren't such a big part of the way that art is made, and
Yeah.
I thought I'd be a painter, and then I majored in illustration, thinking, well, this might be a little bit more employable. And if I could go back in time and major in graphic design or something, I'd probably have a nice job or something.
Well, the ad that's behind me was designed by one of my students who is in art school as a graphic artist, and she's a whiz on the computer. Sarah Lopez, she's a wonderful person. And I know exactly what that's like because I also got my MFA, but I was going to be a professor in French literature. I was going to do that. And I realized it's not really bankable, especially the way the humanities are getting killed these days in academia. And I think, I was bitten by the film bug. You were also bitten by the music bug. So
Yeah.
I've listened to everything that you've done, and I am privileged to have access to some of your early stuff. And I mean, what was it like being in a coffee house performing for the first time in Providence?
Well, to be honest with you, I've had a lot of resistance from the traditional folkies of the time.
Wow.
I've never really fit
Hmm,
in any city I've played in, or a city I've lived in.
hmm,
And when I started in Providence, I really loved reverb because I was really into shoegaze music, and they said, oh, you're using too much, and nobody's interested. I is interested in this kind of music,
hmm.
and I remember just so many people telling me, "Oh, you need to use more fingers on your hand." Just how there's this perception there's a right way and a wrong way to do something, which I firmly disagree with as an artist, a teacher, and a musician. But it was weird. I mean, the open mics were kind of interesting. And then I was lucky there was this club called AS 220 in Providence, Rhode Island, which is an art space that still exists. And that was kind of where I had my first shows, and after I didn't fit in with the Rhode Island Songwriting Association's open mics, and it was just a little too weird for um, like introducing the tradition, like different styles into the traditional stuff.
So, but then, so you went to RISD and then you kind of based yourself in Massachusetts and then you moved to Nashville. What precipitated the move to Nashville?
Well, there was a few other places in between those things. So
Tell us
after,
about them.
yeah, so after undergrad school, I got the master's degree, and then I moved to New York City and was an art teacher in Harlem
Right.
for about a year. It took me over an hour and a half to get there because I was living in Brooklyn, and that was the year that my first record came out, and it was like not even on a real record label. It was a mail order psychedelic label, and it got reviewed, which was crazy. I just didn't expect it and got invited to tour England before ever even playing real shows here in
Mm.
the States. And then I moved around a lot to like Los Angeles and had a bunch of lost years, basically, not lost years, but and then I moved Boston and then Nashville. Just series of things in my personal life led me to relocate, and it's been an interesting place to live for a northerner, um,
Yeah,
liberal northerner, you know.
yeah. I was going to ask you about that because, Nashville is pretty progressive, but everything on the outskirts is, crazy. And I wondered how you felt about that. But, I think that will somehow probably make its way into your music. Are you working on something new?
Yeah, I've got enough songs for a new record, but once you have this many records, I'm being really careful not to release another one until it's really, I want to make sure that it's as great as it can be, or else it's, because so much goes into the production and the
Mm.
promotion of a record. But I have new songs and new projects, and there's a lot of musicians that live in Nashville that aren't country musicians, for the reason that it's an affordable place for an artist to live,
Mm. Yes,
unlike Boston or New York.
that's very true. Because I know a lot of my friends live there and they moved there. They're musicians like you, and they're trying to find their way, and they find it to be really supportive. And we did actually screen a documentary about this wonderful studio where Elvis recorded,
Oh,
a
cool.
Studio B, or I don't remember exactly the name of it. But, for me, I think after July, uh, four my crimes and four more crimes, which I also like, which is
Yeah.
a kind of an appendage to the original. Were playing all the time in my home and in my car, and then you sent the Patron members, which I'm part of. I'm proud to say, Music for Vision series, and I wondered if that's something that you will continue. Or those are just kind of like works in progress for something larger.
I have a really deep interest in ambient music, uh, both for my day-to-day listening experience. Like I can't listen to music with words when
Hmm.
I work or even paint really. I need to just have very distractible person. So I love Harold Budd and I love
Oh,
dreamy minimalistic music. So I I definitely want to finish that project and release a kind of opus of ambient music with wordless vocals. And that'll be in addition to a new record. So
yeah.
I think I'll keep the songwriting going, but then I've got a lot of side projects that I like to branch out with.
Yeah, I love those too. And Harold Budd, rest in peace. He was just a magnificent person in general. And I'm a big fan of Bill Nelson. And he also is devastated by losing him. And I think, but for your work, you also like to collaborate, and you've collaborated with some of the other people that I love, like Emma Ruth Rundell and Mary Lattimore, Angel Olsen, Sharon Van Etten. And what's it like working with these people? I mean, how did you first of all hook up with them, and then, you
Well,
know,
Angel and Sharon, I've known for almost 20 years because especially, I met Sharon first, right before her first record even came out. Like she and I recorded with some of the same people in Philadelphia
Mm.
and with members of the band Espers. And she and I go way back and we toured together a bunch. So, and then with Angel, I met her in 2006 when she opened for me at Ronnie's Bar, this dive bar in Chicago. And she didn't have her, she must have been 17 or 18 at the time, and didn't have any records out. And it was just really cool. And so I kept in touch with both of them
Mm.
throughout the years. So when I went to make For My Crimes, I just asked them to sing on it and they said yes. And it's nice to have those long-standing connections with people. I really admire both of their songwritings. And then Emma and Mary, I've actually known Mary as long as I've known Sharon for the same reason. She goes all the way back to that Espers Philadelphia scene. Before they all relocated to Los Angeles. And Emma, I met more recently, and we have a lot in common, both being multidisciplinary artists, and um, we're friends. And it was cool when the pandemic was happening and the last record, The Path of the Clouds, was being made. It was my first one that I've produced without like, a producer, and I mailed people songs and they mailed them back to me. And I finally learned how to use Pro Tools, which
Mhm.
has been, sorry, I'm getting a little off subject, but
No.
Pro Tools has been really like a gift that I've given myself to learn the industry standard recording program
Mm.
so that I can be, a contender. I could maybe one day record other people for fun, you know.
Well,
So
I mean, everything that you do is magical. So I think if you use Pro Tools, you'll use it in a similar way. But I kind of like the hand-hewn quality of some of the really early stuff.
yeah,
I mean, as you work your way through your catalog, you can see your evolution, and then you get labeled all these dream folk and goth folk, and I think you're all of those things. I have one of your Bleecker series, which I purchased from you, which I'm proud to say I have two of them, and
yeah.
I love them.
Thank
And
you.
every time you look at them in the light, they change. And I think that's the way I see your music. And we were talking about the similarities between your music and your art. Well, that's a perfect example. I think you used it as the art also for Whispering Pines, which is one of the singles that you released with Rob Berger. So, I mean, I think when I look at your art, I see some of the kind of quote unquote goth, but I also see so much more. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Nobody likes to be labeled.
I know it's really, and I felt I asked my wife, should I ask Marissa about labels? Because that's why I said you were a Renaissance woman, because you're so multifaceted. And a lot of the music videos that you have show these reflections and refractions of light that I see as kind of mirrors for your work as well. And so anyway, I look forward to whatever you produce. And
I have thoughts on being labeled. I mean,
mm,
the music reviewing, whatever, for many years, I don't know if you know this, but there was like this indie rock review thing with like Pitchfork being at the front of it. And if you get, and they had so much power over people's careers. And if one person with influence labels you as something, you're just stuck with it. And
forever.
I could photograph myself in all, I mean, I have a all white studio. I'm usually wearing white in the videos still. And there's no real body counts. I mean, that's actually not true. There's a lot of bodies in the songs, but it's just unfortunate sometimes, but I feel that more and more these days people are making their own minds up, and the connectivity between the fan base and the artist, or the consumer and the artist, you know, there isn't as much of a division.
It's very true. And the other thing I wanted to add about your collaborations, and I remember I did read probably in a Pitchfork review that you really didn't want to be in competition with these people that you collaborated with. You wanted it to be, an uplifting situation where you helped each other. And I really thought that was wonderful because, as an artist myself, I do get that competitive urge and somebody, oh, they stole my idea. And you realize that that's not really it's not productive. So you
Yeah.
use it to kind of continue embellishing your own work and not fighting it, but working with people helps you rethink your own stuff. Is that something that took place as well?
It did. In particular, when I sent some songs to Simon Ramon from, he runs my other label and he releases my records outside of the United States at Bella Union. He
Yeah,
is a Cocteau twin,
of
and
course.
he sent me back some songs that were really transformed by the bass line in a way that made me think of the bass entirely differently.
Hmm.
It transformed the songs. And then my other collaborator, Milky Burgess, who played a lot, both live and on that record, and a lot of the ambient stuff that you mentioned as well.
Hmm.
It's interesting how when you collaborate with people, they're different um, instincts and backgrounds will really come into play. Like Emma's been influenced by a whole different world than I have. Same with Mary and same with Milky. And so it's it's nice when that happens. It's almost like, the drawing game Exquisite Corpse.
Yeah,
I felt like my some of those records were built that way, where you don't know what you're gonna get till you unfold the paper.
yeah. And the little pieces all come together,
Yeah,
or don't.
yeah.
So tell our audience, what are you going to play when you come to New Brunswick?
Well, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna cherry picking the best of the best from my repertoire, basically, to
Oh,
make good. Because the new record isn't really new anymore, so I don't have to play it. And so, because I'm playing solo, I'm gonna pick the songs that really come through the best solo, and it will be stripped down and intimate and
hmm.
um, not a rock concert.
It's definitely going to be back to your coffee house days. I have a feeling because I mean you're performing in basically a lecture hall, so it's
Cool.
it's going to have a very different vibe from the places that you normally play in. So we're very excited to have you with us. I'd like to share screen so I can tell our audience how they can purchase some tickets, if you don't mind. And let me see if I can prepare this, and so I don't look completely ill prepared. You know,
You seem
Marissa,
pretty prepared to me.
Marissa, I've been doing, since the pandemic, I think I've done 150 of these. And it
Oh,
never gets old. Each person brings so much interesting stuff. And, I'm such a fan of yours. So I think I was nervous to do this interview with you because,
oh,
oh my God, it's a dream come true to have you on. It's a dream come true to have you play. I did approach Julie Byrne, who I also really love, and I asked her
yeah.
to come and play, but she didn't really respond back. I mean, actually, I'll tell you more about her when we talk later. But I think the wonderful aspect of having this program, I've been running this film festival for 43 years. The particular one that you're coming to is only 29 years old. And the idea was that I wanted to really do something different. And so I invited artists whose work I really appreciate, and yours will be the second concert that we do. And we have another one scheduled in October with a noise man named Jim Haynes. I don't know if you know him,
Mm-mm.
but he's really wonderful too. But let's share screen now so we can do this the right way. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this. And this is our normal homepage, which is njfilmfest.com. And this will be the place that you're coming to, Marissa. This is Voorhees Hall from the outside. And it's attached to the Zimmerli Art Museum, which is the art museum for the university. And the way that normally everything would be here, but because we're a hybrid festival, and our film festival screenings are both online and in person. We've not gone back to just in person. That you click on current events, and you must absolutely hit the buy tickets link to get to our real website. And everything is here for people to explore the film festival, but what you absolutely must push is the Marissa Nadler button. And when you get there, there's a description of Marissa's career as well as information about the actual show. And then you would click order tickets to buy tickets. And tickets are $25, which we think is reasonable. And we have an auditorium that seats 250 people. And it is a lecture hall. So, I mean, we're going to make it look really nice. And we have a really pretty good PA system, and there'll be lights and stuff like that. So we're really excited to have that show coming. So please join us. And that's how you would be able to buy tickets. I'm going to stop sharing. And just say thank you so much for doing this brief interview with us, Marissa. I think you know, our audience will really love you and love your music, because you're such a passionate person and you're so talented that we're really proud to be able to have you come to Rutgers and to the International Film Festival.
Thank you so much for inviting me to play. I'm really excited to see where it all goes and happens.
Thanks,
So
Marissa. Thank you so much. We'll see you at the show.